So it just boggles me, especially like men, not to say it, but especially men, guys. Like they're like, yeah, I can do it myself. I don't know if it's just like societal conditioning that's led them to believe that, but it's always just like, yeah, I'm a guy, so I can do it myself. That's completely wrong. I feel like community is so powerful, and it's the one thing that we're really trying to build at CES, which is just the abbreviation for Creative Entrepreneur Society.
Hi everyone, welcome to Designing Tomorrow, your guide to sustainable entrepreneurship. I'm Kanishka, namaste. I'm joined by my co-host and an audio producer, Amayo, from MA Fashion Entrepreneurship and Innovation at LCF, to bring you an 8-episode podcast guiding you to start your own sustainable brand. Well, how do you feel today, Anne?
I'm also very excited. By the way, my name is Anne. We are here to spark innovation, bring you more eco-friendly ideas in fashion. And today we are very excited to bring our first guest, the founder of Creative Entrepreneur Society, Tiffany Ho. Do you want to briefly introduce yourself, Tiffany?
Yeah, of course. So thank you guys for having me here. My name is Tiffany Ho, and I'm currently a third-year graphic communication design student. And like you guys said, I founded the Creative Entrepreneur Society along with my vice president, Barama, way back in June of 2023, actually. And yeah, we officially launched in September, and since then, the growth has just been astronomical. We've grown to one of UAL's largest societies in a short span of 3 months. So we're sitting at, I think, close to 500 registered members right now, and like tons more followers on LinkedIn and Instagram. But the thing is, like, the demand is real. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start straight away in. What are your definitions of entrepreneurship and innovation? And did you see that differently a year ago?
Definitely. Honestly, like, every time I introduce myself as like, oh yeah, I'm the president of this like entrepreneur society, I honestly, dude, like, I still feel cringe, you know. I still feel like a bit of shame in my heart, like, oh my god, I'm like selling my soul out to like profit driven entrepreneurship and like this and that, you know. And that really was my definition of entrepreneurship a year ago. I genuinely thought it was just like men in suits, you know, conducting business deals that don't really build up to anything positive, you know, or real or high impact, right? Just people talking about money and spending it on themselves, which I feel like is still, I guess, the internal definition for a lot of young people, especially young creatives, right? Because we're so far away from the world of business and economics and finance that we just kind of have that active avoidance of all things entrepreneurship, networking, and all associated words. But honestly, that's like so far from the truth, because every day, you know, at UAL, at a creative university or institution, what we're doing with briefs and projects, every day we're exhibiting such entrepreneurial traits. We're being resourceful, right? We're experiencing like all of these risk-taking factors and project iterations and prototypes, that it's hard to not be entrepreneurial. And I guess this is one of the main reasons I started the society as well, is just because when there is this active avoidance of stepping into entrepreneurial spaces, what you also lose out on are these experiences where you get to upskill and empower yourself. You get to learn how to better negotiate for your creative integrity through, I guess, exercising your professional business communication skills, right? And the fact that university doesn't really teach us this, you know, it's quite shocking. So, I mean, that's a big reason of why we're here.
And along your journey, what do you think are the like biggest difficulties you have faced?
That's a good question. I'd say, well, I don't want to say my journey was smooth, but I definitely had like a lot of support. You know, that archetype of like the lone wolf artist or the lone wolf entrepreneur. Like, I do agree that it might be true in like some very special cases. But more often than not, successful people have such a wide community and wide support network supporting them, and really like pushing them forward, holding them accountable to what they're doing, what they said they will do, and what they've done. And so I guess one of the biggest difficulties I've encountered is, I guess, pushing myself away from that like lone wolf, I have to do everything myself. My standards are high and I am the only person who can reach those standards. That's just not true at all. That's such a myth. at least for me and for all of my peers around me. You know, like creativity, it doesn't happen in a vacuum, and entrepreneurship is just another form of creativity, and that certainly does not happen in a vacuum as well. You need so many resources and so many, you just need a massive support circle just to take even the first step. So yeah, I'd say that was my biggest difficulty, just shedding that myth.
I personally relate with this because at our course in MA Fashion Entrepreneurship and Innovation, our course leaders Stacia, Taylor, and Sabina specifically focus on how teams are vital for a successful business venture.
Yeah. So like
you cannot be a lone wolf.
Exactly, you can't be alone. So it just boggles me, especially like men, not to say it, but especially men, guys. Like they're like, yeah, I can do it myself. I don't know if it's just like societal conditioning that's led them to believe that, but it's always just like, yeah, I'm a guy, so I can do it myself. That's completely wrong. I feel like community is so powerful, and it's the one thing that we're really trying to build at CES, which is just the abbreviation for Creative Entrepreneur Society.
Yeah, and like you said, you founded with your like co-founder.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So we're wondering like how that dynamic like went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is also something that I had to learn, that dynamic with a co-founder, and making sure, okay, this is somebody I can trust, I can depend on, somebody who I know has my back when I can't show up. And Barama, the vice president, like he's just amazing, you know, he's like the friendliest guy you'll ever meet. And he's great. I think in the past we've had some discussions about, okay, like we have to remember to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, just recognizing the strengths and values that each other brings to the table. So you don't have like your own nagging feeling inside your heart that, oh, like, am I giving more? Is he giving more? Like, no, this is a 50-50 split. And we both couldn't have done it without each other.
I'm curious though that if someone like me wants to start my own little venture, but I have no experience, what advice do you have for me?
Well, guys, honestly, I don't have experience. No, that's the thing, because so many people come up to me and they say, oh, wow, you must have had like, you must have studied business or like econ or finance in your GCSEs or A levels. I personally did IB. Right. And I, you know, there's also like business and econ, finance, all of the A-level classes there. I did not take anything, right? I did not take business or econ or finance or anything like business related at all. When I say I have no experience, I legitimately have no experience. But like, why not? Why let that stop you, right? I feel like when most people say, oh, they don't have experience, it's because they're comparing themselves to their peers who perhaps have already made it. Right, and they're looking at themselves still at like ground zero, and they're like, well, how can I ever get up there? Like, it doesn't matter, as long as you take that first step, you will get experience. So never think that, oh, I've got zero experience. You already have the skills to professionally communicate. You already have your own creativity, and you already have like your own personal flair that you can bring to the table. So in a way, you have tons of experience already.
That leads to my next question. That like, I know you are like a student in graphic design. So how did you like manage to being both like academic and community responsibilities?
Am I balancing that, guys? I don't know. No. Yeah. I guess it's just good time management. Like, there is no other answer. As cliche as it sounds, like to-do lists, calendars, like my Google Calendar is like decked out. It's like the most colorful thing you'll ever see. I just like, I struggle to remember like in the past when I didn't use Google Calendar. I'm just like, how did I survive when I wasn't using like some form of, I guess like time management software, right? Or even just like pen on paper. It's as easy as that. I use the Pomodoro technique, if everybody's wondering.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so the Pomodoro technique, it's where you study your work for 25 minutes and then you break for 5 minutes, and the break should be something that's not mentally straining. So during that break, you should not be going on your phone on TikTok or on social media. You should be like relaxing your brain, like genuine, like looking outside, going for like a short 5-minute walk, like talking to your friends or the peers around you for 5 minutes, and then after that it's right back into work. It makes me feel like the 25 minutes is like a really intense work session where like, okay, I have to get this task done within 25 minutes. So if I'm doing like a PDF, like, okay, I have to finish this slide in 25 minutes. It gives me like a short-term time frame to finish a goal that I would have otherwise completed in like 40 minutes, right?
I'm also curious. You mentioned that your society is one of the fastest growing communities on the campus. I mean, with the time management for academics and for your SES, how do you manage this rapid growth? How did you make it achievable?
I guess just to touch upon community again, I've got a wonderful team of 15. Before we started out with 4 people, right? So just me, my vice president, the treasurer Lucy, and our head of communications Natalia. And for a few weeks, like that was just it. But I'd say what contributed to this massive growth was also the fact that we had touched upon this market gap, right? So while UAL's Graduate Futures and Careers Employability and Enterprise departments, they run a lot of interesting events. Often they don't have the capacity to run events at the same intensity we do as students, right? And often as students, we also have access to resources or speakers for free, whereas as a university institution, they kind of have to pay that honorarium or venue fee or speaker fee. And so because of that, because of the fact that we're effectively leveraging our student identity and we're effectively tapping into this like high demand market gap, I think that's contributed a lot. And I guess thirdly, but also most importantly, the fact that I've got such a wonderful team around me who really shares, I guess, the vision and mission of the society, and who genuinely want to push this thing forward, and they're passionate about, I guess, increasing that entrepreneurial spirit at UAL, as well as stepping into these like cross-industry collaborative spaces between UAL and other universities and other like niche industries. Yeah.
Networking definitely plays a crucial role in your entrepreneurial world. So how did you build and expand your network to benefit the society itself and its members?
Yeah, so at first, I really was just taking all of the networking opportunities I could find. So there's this great Instagram account called Style and Sound, and they run, I guess, like, they run really regular networking sessions. So I think every week they have, like, themed networking sessions within the creative industry. So they have, like, digital design connect, or they have filmmakers connect, or they have, like, photographers connect, right? And I would go to them and just talk to people and meet people, and that kind of started opening up my network. And from there, it really was just finding other events to go to and then being invited to other ones you just see on Eventbrite. And then slowly this network also stepped into UAL. So then I would connect with students across disciplines, across courses, across colleges. And that was when I had just started a society as well. So there was something concrete to talk about. I would be able to talk about, oh, like I'm founding a society, it's doing X, Y, and Z. And, you know, there'd be room for more substantial dialogue, right? Instead of just talking about, like, what I do at graphic design, which is great, but it's not something that I'm, like, incredibly passionate to talk about. Whereas with the society, it was like, yeah, this is something, like, really interesting I'm working on, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it and what you think would benefit yourself, right, when you were a student. What opportunities would you have wanted to see? And in a way, that was also me conducting market research, like in a super casual way. And I guess how this later on benefited the society was that through these connections, we were also able to host events with them. So, for example, this girl, Kat, that I just met randomly in an event. Right now, she's a part of the Computer Visual Arts Society, which is one of the first computer visual arts societies ever in the world. I think it was founded in like 1600s. Right, it's like their history is amazing, and she's right now on the member as like a youth representative. And she hit me up one day. She was like, "Oh my gosh, Tiffany, like I've been following your progress in society, and it would be amazing if we could collaborate, right? If we could have the Computer Visual Arts Society and the society collaborate." So right now we're looking into that as well. So yeah, I just say take every opportunity you get, because you
Yeah.
genuinely don't know where it will lead you, right? Like the next person you talk to might be your future employer. Yeah.
I believe that a relationship should also last long. It shouldn't feel like just for that particular goal fulfillment. How do you ensure that the connections you have made so far are sustainable and mutually beneficial as well?
Yeah, of course. So I guess I'll start from my team. So at the start, the team was just us four, and honestly, they were all my friends. So you really do start from your existing network, um, which are basically just your friends, guys. So having like insanely talented, driven, and ambitious friends, is just the most amazing feeling in the world. And so that was the start of it. After that, after we gained a bit more traction, people started reaching out to us, and that's how we got our fifth member, who was Jolyn. She's also just like the most amazing, like, business creative, like, design management guru ever. She's younger than me, and she's already built like a highly successful startup in I think in education, specifically in the IB system. And yeah, after that, it just kind of snowballed. Like, the bigger we grew, the more people wanted to join us. And right now, with our team sitting at 15, just because we do have like a hierarchy within our team organization, we have found it more difficult to maintain that same strong connection when it was just like us five, for example. So one thing that we've started implementing was team build, so internal team building events. So our last one, we went to a board game cafe, and we could just all kind of chill and hang out there for like 4 or 5 hours, and it was a good chance to get to know everyone in like a super casual setting, away from business, away from work, because at the end of the day, we do run ourselves like a business organization. So we do have like a centralized team and then two decentralized event teams, who all have direct reports. And just because of that hierarchical structure, it does seem a bit intimidating, especially to our junior members. They feel like they can't establish like a personal connection to perhaps me, or like head of strategy or head of comms. But we do want to show them like, hey, like, at the end of the day, like, we're all students, we're all here to actually just volunteer, like, do our best, like, work hard, play hard, slay hard. That's like the motto of our society in our group chat. And that's the culture we really want to build within it, as well as, after I graduate, that's the culture that I hope continues in the society. It's so important to have these incredibly logical, business-driven people. At the same time, you need to have like these social extroverts to balance these these things out. Yeah. So that's the internal team dynamic, a little peek inside that. And I guess on networking, how do you make your network sustainable and mutually beneficial? I'd say it's just reaching out to the ones who you really like. Like, it doesn't even have to be because they're in like a senior level position. It's really just about how well you vibe with someone, and how often you do want to meet them, and how much you like them, like, as a person and as a human being.
Another interesting fact about our like podcast team, that we're all international students. So like, being an international student, would you say that this has any influence on your networking experiences, or like, are there any unique challenges or advantages?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have moved around, but I've moved around like a whole bunch in my life, right? So
Yeah.
I've lived in like 4 countries. I've been to like 12 schools from primary to high school. I don't know why I transferred around that much, but I did. And all of these experiences have kind of led me, or rather like forced me to become like a super extroverted, adaptable person. So literally, like, throw me into any environment and I'll be okay. And that's kind of the philosophy that, like, everything will turn out all right because I have the autonomy to make sure it does.
Yeah.
Right. And, I see that in a lot of other international students as well, that resilience to new environments and to adaptation, which I think is great. And it's such a core part of being an entrepreneur as well, that drive and that mindset of, like, this is a step back. This is a setback, but it's okay because I'll push through and I will progress. And not to say that local students don't exhibit these traits. I'm just saying that on an average, I guess the international students that I've met have all shared these traits.
Well, we are in a fashion business school, so not everyone necessarily have the design background. And so many factors in design, like branding, marketing, graphic design, sort of help in building a brand. Do you think your design background played a very crucial role in the success of your club? And what advice do you have for someone who doesn't have the necessary skills?
I'd say it did definitely play an important role, and that's because, well, for one, I know people like throw the term design thinking around a lot, but it is so true. It's that iterative thinking process and that importance that you put on user research as well as user feedback that leads you into better prototypes and iterations. And that's essentially that's just entrepreneurship. So it's once again, it's just crazy when creatives don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs, because they are so inherently entrepreneurial, and they should not be actively avoiding these entrepreneurial spaces. And to answer your question, my design background, so it's told me how important marketing is. So the fact that our Instagram looks the way that it is because everybody in our team knows how important that public profile is, right? So anytime you want to launch something, you have to make sure, okay, there's some pre-existing traction there already. So when users want to follow you, they're like, okay, it's not like a dead account. There's posts there, there's images there, there's a bit about them. They're like, you know what? Okay, I'll follow, I'll stay tuned. And I guess one more thing is just about the visuals. I mean, I am a graphic designer, so I know when something looks good, people will like it more. So our identity was actually designed by my head of communications, Natalia, and it's amazing. She's received so many compliments on it just because it works out so well in between that intersection of creativity and entrepreneurship, business-y visuals. Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for students who can be from a non-design background with resources in UAL that they could benefit with?
I know UAL hosts a lot of annual events. So, for example, they have the Creative Hackathon, I think, which is actually in 2 weeks' time. I'm not sure if you guys signed up to that. Yeah?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, nice.
We
Amazing.
did.
It's actually where I've met my vice president, Barma, for the very first time. It's also the event that made me realize, oh shit, entrepreneurship is so interesting, you step into that room and the atmosphere is just different, right? Because there's incentive, and it's based in reality as well. Not to say that our design projects aren't based in reality, but this is different because you have to consider all of these practical advantages, disadvantages, solutions, problems, challenges to the innovation or solution that you're working on, right? So this atmosphere is it's electric. Everybody's working towards the same goal, and everybody's, there's competition, but it's also such a friendly atmosphere that you're able to make friends and connections with people that you would necessarily just never meet outside of uni classes. So for all those who's listening, the Creative Hackathon, go join it. It's amazing. You'll love it. Apart from that, they also run annual pitch it events. I know some colleges have their own enterprise challenges or business accelerators, incubators. But besides from those college specific ones, I know if you do reach out to your careers and employability team at the colleges, they're always the most helpful people ever. They're super kind. They always have time to give to spare some advice or other resources that they're connected to, right? So if you are thinking about an enterprise endeavor, definitely reach out to somebody, and book a one-to-one session with them. For the resources that are not in UAL, I'd say the Stout and Sound one that I mentioned previously. There's this website founded by Carolyn Daly. It's called Creative Entrepreneurs. And in it, it's just a repository of resources that you definitely need to look at when building your own business from scratch. So it goes through legal things, it goes through marketing, it goes through where to raise funds from, whether that's crowdfunding or seed funding. It goes through business models and finance models and user research, basically it covers all the bases, and all of the knowledge has been validated by her and her team. She's like the ex-director of like Warner Bros. In Europe, you know, so she's got like a crazy experience and crazy history. Yeah, and so that resource that she set up is really helpful. I know there's also one called Creative Champs. And let's see, there's so many resources out there. Creative Lives in Progress is a really good one, as well as I Like Networking. I think they're run on Instagram, but Creative Lives in Progress also has a really good website that everybody should go look at. Not just for entrepreneurs, just for creative students in general as well. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Tiffany. So last but not least, can you just briefly share with us like your future plans or the future plans of the CES?
Yeah, of course. So right now for CES, we're actually looking at transitions. So just because 5 of our senior leadership team will be graduating, that leaves a chunk of knowledge, experience, and context within the society. Right now, we're just training the junior members up so that they are able to, I guess, effectively take over and lead the society forward. And I guess in terms of vision, the vision for the society would be further integration within UAL. So more recognition from UAL officially as an institution. That means more funding from them directly rather than through the Students' Union, because we do have to apply every time, and that limits the events we put on. It limits the I guess, connection that students have with other universities outside London. And I guess one last point on future vision is just leaving a legacy, right? So we don't want the societies to stop after we've graduated. We want it to become the biggest and best society in UAL, right? Yeah, and that's the future vision for CES. For myself personally, after I graduate, just because I'm an international student, or I have to get a job, guys, which sucks, but I will be running something parallel to my full-time job, which is in development right now. So yeah, it's a secret.
Well, we look forward to hearing about that soon. And well, we've reached the end of the podcast for now. And thank you, Tiffany, so much for joining us. Do you have any last words? Would you like to share your socials with us?
So my LinkedIn is just Tiffany Ho. And for CES on Instagram, it's UAL_CES. And it's not going to change. I hope it's not going to change for like 5-10 years, guys. Yeah.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please subscribe to our YouTube. We'll have more episodes coming up in the following weeks. We're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And well, I'm signing off. Namaste. And do you have any last words?
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Stay tuned.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Bye.
Bye.